I used to get this a lot, and it's because my parents decided to build a brand new house on a plot of land in a neighborhood on the older side of town where houses had been there for 50 plus years. And so with that being said, our house was the biggest house on the street. It was the newest, again, most updated house at that time. And so I remember when we first moved into our home, we were getting like a lot of really weird looks from our neighbors. And my parents I would overhear them talking about the fact that like no one had ever stopped by to welcome us to the neighborhood. In fact, our actual welcome to the neighborhood was a brick through our window once people figured out what kind of people lived there. But anyway, that's not the story that I was getting ready to tell. But I used to get tired of people always, saying weird things like, oh, you live in a white people house. You live in a white people house, because I was confused. I'm like, I am Black and live in this house. All of my aunts and my uncles have houses similar to mine. Why would you say something like that? Not understanding it was rooted in racism, microaggressions, and all of that. And so these little assholes started getting like really kind of confrontational about it because, how dare the Black girl in class have a bigger house than all of them? And so when people started getting really nosy and started asking what my parents did for a living, I used to just tell them, well, my dad's a drug dealer. Oh, I used to straight up look people in the face and say, yeah, my dad is a drug dealer. And in my defense, I wasn't lying. My dad used to sell pharmaceutical pain, like narcotics, for cancer patients. That was his job. He was a pharmaceutical sales rep. And long story short, I got in trouble for this, obviously, by the school. And my dad had to tell me, like, you can't say stuff like that. He understood, like, why I was saying what I said. But obviously, I still got in a lot of trouble anyway. But it also reminded me of a time when one of my closest friends, the first time I ever brought her over to my place. Now, disclaimer, at this time, we weren't actually super close at all. We ended up being really close as a result of this incident, but that's another story for another time. But I digress. So we start walking to my house because at the time, this was high school and we lived within a mile from the school. And so I had to walk. And so we walk towards my house and I'm getting ready to walk up the driveway to, my home. And she's looking at me like, what are you doing? To which I'm looking at her like, girl, what are you talking? I live here. And when I say her eyes got as big as quarters, her mouth opened, and she's like, we drive past this house every day on the bus. What do you mean? You live here? I had no idea Black people lived here. For context, she was Black, if I didn't already mention that. But she proceeds to be just flabbergasted and even more shocked when she realized that my key worked. We get into the house and she's looking around and she just cannot believe what she's seeing. And it was at that moment at age 14 when I realized that I was incredibly privileged and that not all Black kids were living the way that I was.